It's a very standard and obvious question. But how did you get into casting? What was your journey into the industry?
Yeah, okay, I wasn't expecting that question at all. Well, you'll all be thrilled to hear that I went to drama school back about 300 years ago. And I always wanted to be a part of this world. I just wasn't quite sure where I was going to fit in. And so I thought I wanted to go to drama school. So I did go to drama school, and I had 3 of the most amazing years where I just knew that that wasn't where I was meant to be. So I acted for a couple of years. Thankfully, this is how long ago it was. It's pre-internet, so you can't see anything, thank God. And I thought, I'm equipped for nothing besides, spending 3 years at drama school, falling over expertly. So I thought I either assist an agent or assist a casting director, and I realised that I wanted to be in a creative world. So I had met somebody, a casting director, who worked on the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, which was a phenomenal series that was set up here, filming all around the world. And I never looked back. It was really fascinating. 5 years going to drama school, treading the boards, waiting for someone to call me, no one ever calling me in. And then when I made that choice, my life started. So that's how I did.
And I think, that's a really interesting point there, isn't it? Because a lot of people who come into this industry, start with the acting side, maybe drama school, and then they find their calling in a slightly different part of the industry, which is, really exciting and lovely to see where everyone kind of progresses from. I guess, obviously, to start with this today, with the film, how was the casting process in regards to, obviously, the lead roles? How did that come about? And obviously, this is a sequel coming into Gladiator II. Was there pressure? What was the process of getting to hear the finished product?
A lot of questions there.
We'll do one of those as well. Casting process. How did you choose your main cast?
Every film that one does, any project, whatever it is, I start with a clean slate. I don't come in with any preconceived ideas. I mean, I've been doing it long enough now for people to know what my taste is and what acting that I like, acting that I'm not sort of keen on, and therefore I'm already in a position whereby they're going to more or less trust what I'm going to do. With Ridley, he is an exceptional director in every way, and he's entirely visual. So we talk in pictures. I mean, that sounds, but we literally do. And that's how we communicate, because it is a visual medium, and he watches everything, so his knowledge is phenomenal. And if he hasn't seen something, he'll watch it there and then. He'll go, I haven't seen that, I must go and see it. So I'm lucky that I'm in a position where I'm working with a director I've worked with multiple times. So we grow our relationship and we improve on it all the time. And what was exciting about Gladiator is that no one was cast. When I did Napoleon, Joaquin was attached. When I did House of Gucci, Gaga was attached. So Last Duel, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. So your stall's there. So you just build around it. But this time the slate was completely clean, which was really exciting. And when you're doing a film like that, you can have anybody. Everybody wants to be in it. And it's all weirdly overwhelming. You're so used to having so many hurdles to get over that when suddenly you kind of go, anyone, anywhere, this is too much. Obviously, Lucius, as you all know, I mean, everybody knows anyway, that he is the illegitimate child of Russell Crowe. And so, and I don't mean literally, but you know what I mean, and the character. I never remember characters' names, so you'll work that one out in a minute. So, so that was my touchstone. Who would believably be the offspring of Russell Crowe? And actually, that list started to narrow down pretty quickly. Because, and also there's a massive pressure. This is a studio film with a massive budget. And, nobody wants a complete unknown carrying that film. He's number one on the call sheet. That means everyone turns to that person on set. They set the tone, the work ethic, everything really. And it's very rare that you can find that in somebody who was as brand new in many ways as Paul was. I mean, yes, obviously done Normal People, Sunburn, a film with Emily Watson. I can remember the title of it. And obviously he was a successful actor, but not everyone's a leading actor. I know everyone thinks they're a leading actor, but trust me, the responsibility is enormous. And you have to really think long and hard about whether this person is going to be able to shoulder that responsibility. So, Ridley and I, we both were talking about Paul extensively. And I know Paul has got this wonderful story, which is true, that he had a Zoom with Ridley and that Ridley offered him the job after half an hour. But that was after 2 months of us doing our research, watching everything, talking greatly about it. Is he good, and also is he at the point in his career where he's gonna go off and he's gonna work to physically become that person? Because some actors at his age who are already massively established, maybe they're not gonna have the same desire. And that, my God, what Paul did was astonishing. What he did to his physique was extraordinary and essential. And it wasn't about going to the gym. He said, I can't go to the gym. I've got to look like, someone of that period. So he was already being so intelligent about it. So we were lucky, we were lucky that, we all kind of went, this is who we want. And Paramount were amazing as well. But we didn't know that he could do what he could do, because none of us do. I mean, that's the beauty of what we do. We have instinct, we have knowledge, but none of us can guarantee a success or a hit. Otherwise, we'd all have successes and hits on our hands. So that's really how it came about.
I think, again, I'd heard that story. Obviously, he had the half an hour Zoom and got
it makes me look really good.
But again, that just clarifies everyone, the idea that how much research has gone in before that moment.
Oh my God, yes, yeah.
I think that is a key part of, the casting director. So when did you start working on this film? Like, when was it coming to you? How did it come to you?
But when you work with Ridley, he's incredibly loyal, and that you're in the gang, and therefore everything just rolls. And even when we were finishing Napoleon, we were already talking about Gladiator, and when that's how he works all the time. So it's not a question of just sitting there and suddenly getting the call. The call is always there. So I can't really remember. We were talking about it for a long time, and obviously, over a period, you talk about other actors, and then this is the beauty of what we do, is that things evolve very quickly. And I remember when we were first talking about Paul, I think the only thing any of us had seen was Normal People, and Streetcar hadn't come out yet. But it was the London Film Festival, so I gorged his films, and I saw him being interviewed, and so that all filters back into the conversation, because I have to be able to say to Ridley or whoever the director is, he can do this. He's up to it. I know he's up to it. And I think once also theatre. For me, I can see a film, I can see an amazing performance on television and go, that's an incredible performance in that show. But when I see someone on stage, you don't have to play the lead, you can be a cough and a spit, doesn't matter. I see you listen, I see your physicality, I see if you're a generous actor, I see if you're a selfish actor. I see everything I need from the stage. And then I really talk about authority about an actor. But also as casting directors, we don't just know you about what you can do. We also know a lot about you. We see how your career's gone. We see where you are, if you've made a mistake, if you're unhappy, you need this break. I remember an actress years ago, and she was doing really, really well, but she was doing the same thing again and again and again. And I had a great role in a show, but it wasn't the lead. And I said, does she want to change her trajectory? And the agent said, yes, she does. So she did a smaller role, but completely changed her trajectory. And then I was casting another show, and I suggested her, and they said, oh no, she's never done this before. And I went, hang on a second. And I had the rushes, and I showed them. They went, oh, I'd never seen anything like that before. Yeah, that's what we're up against a lot. But I'm babbling now, aren't I?
No, but I think, again, that's a really important part of it, is that directory that people can change. I think sometimes.
And some don't want to change. I mean, and that's fine. Yeah. The most frustrating thing for me is I like to challenge. I think that's also part of my job, is to challenge. And when you do bring in an actor and they go, I don't know why you brought me in for this job, and you think, well, thanks. try something different. But clearly you don't want to do it.
And I think also, again, you've cast a lot of film, television. I guess a question that a lot of people ask, is there any difference between those kind of casting? Is there something that people do in an audition, for either genre that they need to be aware of or kind of bring into the casting? Either in person, obviously self-tape is around as well, so they're two very different things. But in your experience, is there something, and I never want to be negative, but to say, please actors, don't do this?
Oh, no, it's a really good question, actually. Really, there is, for me, very little difference between the formats. The result, obviously, is very different. So I cut my cloth accordingly before anybody comes into the room. And therefore, with Ridley, he just needs to see their work. He'll have a Zoom and then he'll offer it to them. And that happens all the time because he trusts me to do my job well enough so that he knows that if he then responds to them instinctively, then he knows that he's with somebody he wants to work with. So I think it's difficult. I think there's a lot of conversation about actors who are suited for film and actors who are suited for television. I try to avoid that conversation because I don't think that's particularly productive. Look at people like Olivia Colman and there are so many people that you could go, no, she's a television. Well, she's not. She's, if you're a phenomenal actor and you can transcend to an extent that we believe you, as long as you do look right for the role and the piece and the period, because obviously, it's not about, I don't understand, I can't do films where it's all about people being gorgeous. I'm not good at that. And there are films that do that and they do it brilliantly. And I'm not taking anything away from that. But so I'm probably not the right one. But I think some people who do that would say, absolutely, there's a massive difference. But from my point of view, it's very much about telling a story and using the best people to tell the story.
Amazing. On that note, I'm going to open it up because I know some people will have questions.
Hi, fantastic. Congratulations.
Hi, thank you.
My name's Kehinde Adeyemi. Acting, I learned from film school as well as acting. I just wanted to ask, what's your process for when there's maybe an actor attaches in different films, it could be, and then that change, maybe there's a schedule conflict and it becomes a different actor and then it becomes a different actor, and obviously they bring different things to the role stays static. What's your process for adapting to that?
That's my job. Every day you're recalibrating, all the time. We can sit down and draw up lists and go, this is the perfect person for these and then they don't want to do it, or they're not available, or whatever. So you can't ever sit back and go, that's what we're going to do. I'm on my toes all the time. I was just saying earlier that an actor's just pulled out of a film on Monday and I'm having to recast it now. And that happens all the time. And that's down to logistics. But it does have a knock-on effect, definitely. When we had to recast Jodie Comer in Napoleon, I had 10 days because we were starting January the 6th and there was basically a terrible mistake about Jodie Comer's availability. So then the shutters kind of come down and you become hyper focused and you don't spread far and wide. You just go, okay, who's going to fit into that world? Who's going to work well with Joaquin? Who's going to work well, quite frankly, at that point, who's going to fit into the costumes that have spent months and months being made for Jodie Comer? The knock-on effect is huge. So it's finding an actress that I knew, because I know Vanessa well enough, I've known her for years through work, is that she's no nonsense and she's brilliant, brilliantly articulate and intelligent, and doesn't get overwhelmed by people like, because any actress could be overwhelmed by somebody as powerful as Joaquin. It's intimidating. Of course it's going to be intimidating. But then that's the challenge. That for me is when it's sort of, without sounding terribly pretentious, it should be a sort of, this is going to sound pretentious, an organic process. I don't just ram in anyone. I will just let the dust settle and go, okay, let's everyone just, like when this happened a week ago, and I just said, everybody just breathe, leave me alone for 24 hours, we'll make this work. And you do, because you have to, and you always do. And I'm a big believer that these things happen for a very good reason. And in fact, the element that they bring is what turns something into a different. And you have to look at it globally. It's not just my little cog in the wheel. But that's what I enjoy. I mean, I don't obviously enjoy just before Christmas. It's always before Christmas when I still haven't finished my Christmas shopping.
It's always that time.
Always this time.
Definitely.
But it happens. I think you have to be prepared for that all the time.
Amazing. Lovely. There we go.
Hi.
Hi.
I was going to say strengthen on it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But were you entertained?
I was. Are you not? Hi, Kate. My name's Lawrence Lambert. I'm an actor, director, and a teacher of screen acting. I'm just wondering, with my students presently at the moment, they're so concerned about the process with self-taping. And I'm wondering whether or not you feel there's been any addition in that process or something subtracted in it, seeing that perhaps there might be an advantage when you have an actor in front of you. For the simple reason that, is there any energy that you get face to face rather than in a self-tape or on a Zoom that you think, wow, this is surprising, or could I not utilize this particular actor in a different role from the one that perhaps they've self-taped for?
All of that.
Yeah.
All of that, yeah. I mean, look, it is now, it's not going to go away. Self-taping is now an essential part of everyone's lives, and we all just have to buck up and get on with it. And what I found really fascinating this year is saying, I'm not going to do self-tapes anymore. Everyone's going to come in. I can't tell you how many people said I don't want to come in. I'd rather self-tape. Or could I do a Zoom? Or when they did come in, they'd lost their confidence. And I felt awful for them because I could see them unravel. And that was the last thing I wanted to do, was to make them feel worse. And so that is a big deal. That's what affected me enormously, because I think, from being at drama school, I'll never forget what it's like talking to an audition. And that was 40 years ago. And I'll never forget what that feeling is like. And for me, an audition room must be a safe space. For you to be your very best, you want to be vulnerable. To be vulnerable, you've got to feel safe. And if you don't feel safe, it's not going to work for anybody. So I was mortified that actually bringing people in was causing more distress. So what we do now is self-tapes in the first instance, and then recalls must be in person. But a lot of directors are fighting it because they could be elsewhere. They could be doing locations, because then it can just look. And I would have to say, do you really want the first time you meet this actor to be when you're on set? And I've now had, since this process, and actually have to say, only because of lockdown, opposed to a choice, when we had to cast in, virtually, I've had 3 recastings and it wasn't because they were wrong, it's because they realised that they weren't their kind of person. I had the director calling me going, I do not want to work with this guy. And we would have worked that out in the room. So I have to bring this up whenever a director kind of goes, because you see, now it's all about money. It's all about, we don't have to spend money at Spotlight to hire space. It's much cheaper to get everyone to do it on self-tape. So we're constantly having to go, no, I don't, fine, but then this is going to be in person. Then you're trying to get the director to come in. Oh, they've gone off on a recce. So, you become this sort of harridan, but it's essential. But I think any tips, just, the tips I think that they're fairly universal, the tips. I'm not going to add anything that I don't think's already been established, but I think most casting directors feel the same way that I do. I mean, the positive side is that before, I'd get a director for a day and you'd go, right, I've got to cover 4 characters in a day, which means I'll probably only get 3 actors per role. Well, now I can spread it far and wide. So there is definitely a bonus for it.
It's a really interesting topic, and it's something that obviously we have a lot of news and advice on at Spotlight, but it is really interesting to ask casting directors as well, because obviously you are the ones every day in and out, and it's really interesting. You're not the only one, Carmel last week said as well, of recasting and things like that.
Oh yeah.
Gone. So it is a
false economy. It's a real false economy.
Yeah.
Hi, Kate, thank you so much for being with us today, and
Sure.
congratulations on a fantastic film full of lovely performances. My name's Cameron Crogstone, polyglot actor, and my question to you today is on your thoughts of the most vital or useful auxiliary skills to being a great actor in itself. For your casting, I mean, for stuff like this, I can imagine stage combats and horse riding must be very useful. But what would you say are sort of the vital ones if one wants to?
Honestly, I didn't really think about any of that. I mean, because it's got to be the right actor, and I don't want to have he's an incredible horseman, but he's a shit actor. We're not interested in that. So, we have enough, amazing people that, Paul, when he does that incredible, I was on set that day when he runs by the horse and leaps onto it. And he trained for months to do it. And on the day it was really, really hot. And they were talking about not doing it. And I could see Paul going, please, I have to do it. And it was an amazing shot, but he trained to do it. So that's when I go back to when I talk about knowing whether an actor is up to it. Because I know a lot of really good actors who are really lazy. And I know a lot of actors who are really, are really amazing, but they're not supportive actors. They're not ensemble actors. So I can't send them off to Bangkok and stick them in a studio for 6 months because I know they'll go crazy and they'll make it miserable for everyone else. So auxiliary skills, no. I think there becomes a real worry that your CV's got to have ballet, tap, blah, 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 blah. I mean, we all know you've only done a few classes in it. Otherwise you'd say proficient tap dancer, Olympic skier, So I really wouldn't worry about that. I think the most important thing is to be part of life, be vital. Watch the news, for God's sake. Go to the cinema. Don't, it drives me crazy when actors go, oh, no, I don't watch television. Well, who the hell are you then? It's so arrogant and stupid. This is your medium. And knowledge is power. The more you know about everyone, the more you know about me, the people that you come. When I always say to actors, when I'm bringing you into a room, you're 50% there. Because I've already spoken about you to the director. I've said why I think you're right, what I've seen you in, all these things. So they're looking forward to meeting you. So then it's about the director going, is this the vision I've got? Will that work with the other actor I've also got in mind? And do I want to spend the next 6 months on set with this person? Because that's also a massive part of it. So I really wouldn't worry about auxiliary skills. I don't think Al Pacino's got any.
But no, I think that, again, that's a really interesting one. Again, podcast, reading, television, film, it's there.
And just reading. Just, novels, everything, anything, critics, reports, anything, poetry. Don't just rely on us to make it happen. Invest in yourself so that you become more and more interesting in life.
Amazing.
Hi, my name is Stacey Tunis. I'm an actress and a writer. And my question is, so in the casting process, I get, like a lot of people, the smaller roles, day player, a couple of days, in the location where I'm at. So I deal with the local casting director. But let's say you're doing a big project like this, you're in Malta and you're casting local. When you do a tape for the local casting director, does that tape then go to you?
Yeah.
Or, okay, always.
Always, yeah.
Okay.
Particularly for Ridley, because I even have to keep an eye on the featured extras, which I wouldn't normally do, because he's an artist. These are all colours and these are fields. So I very much want to be across all of that. But yes, on any of the other shows that I do, that we have a local casting director, everything comes to me. Because sometimes it can all, they get the wrong message. They haven't had a chance to, they certainly won't have access to the conversations I've had. And I also know the sort of people that the director isn't going to particularly respond to. So it's essential that I do.
Great question. Who are we going for next? Oh, there we go, Kristen.
Hi Mel. Hi everyone. He's Adiel. Do you have any experiences where you experienced a creative difference between yourself and the director regarding who you wanted to cast in a project, and how would you tackle that? Because I've had one time where I auditioned for something, I got to the final stage, and the casting director told me that I liked you, but there was a creative clash. So how have you dealt with that?
It happens, I'm afraid. It does happen. I mean, when you're working with someone who's smart, which I luckily do, you will have a debate. You'll have a healthy debate. And if you're open to it, we both will listen to each other's case. And that's the most you can ever ask for. I'm here to facilitate, and I'm here to help tell the story in the vision that the director has. But it's up to them to make the final decision. I was about to say a lie. I think there's only one time when I've said, if you go down this road, I'm out. Because it was just so shockingly wrong. And it was done on the basis of someone being good looking and not being right for the role and just not being very good. So a difference of opinion or taste or style, you have to go with. You know, you can't say how dare you. You know, that's not what a director wants. But equally, you get into trouble if you don't stop something from happening that you instinctively know isn't right, because then they see it in the edit. So you have to put, and then at least I've said it, and it's lodged, and then they carry on. That's their choice. But I've only had that once, but it does happen.
Great question.
Yeah,
Probably
really good question. These are really good
I
questions.
know, really good. We've probably got time for a couple more.
I just pulled the pen up. Hello, I'm Sophia. I was just interested in you saying that not everyone is a lead actor, even though we all would love to be. And I was just wondering if there's common things that you find amongst people who tend to be lead actors, or does every lead actor surprise you and is very different?
Well, there's obviously a difference between film and television and theatre. That's very different, because I think there are a lot more leading actors in theatre. It's a very different muscle that's being, but I can't begin to reiterate the pressure it is on someone's sanity to be a leading person in a film. Because if this film doesn't work, it's on your head. And that's what I'm talking about. It's not about talent. My God, there's so many amazing people that should be. But that's why you tend to see the same people. Because they take on the responsibility and they will deliver, and they take responsibility for the other cast. You know, it's having someone smart enough to know that they're working with children, that they will call me and say, I'd really like to be able to speak to the parents. And then they'll hang out with the children. You know, they'll take them to Nando's or something, but they'll get to know them before they'll be on set. You know, and that's taking responsibility. A lot of people don't do that.
I was going to say, I think something you said today as well with the ensemble. It's not just we associate that word with theatre, but actually you are the leading person in that film, and it's bringing everyone along with you on that journey, and that's definitely.
But equally, people. I remember doing an ill-fated, excuse the pun, piece about the Titanic, and we were doing it from 4 points of view. And it didn't work at all, sadly. It was a great idea, but anyway, it didn't work out. Anyway, so we had this one actor coming in for a lead role, and the director said to him, so once we've finished your storyline, you're going to be okay about the fact that then you'll be in the background and everything will be on the reverse. And he went, no. And we were like, what? He went, I'm really sorry, no, I can't do that. And we were like, okay, that's fine. Do you know what? That's fine. I don't mind. I'm really pleased you said that. He said, I will not fare well in that situation. And it's really smart to know what your limitations are. I know what my limitations are. And you can't do everything. Yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a job.
Hi, my name's Jack, and I'm an actor from the north of England. You've touched a little bit before on it, but what I'm sort of interested in is, with a film of this magnitude, what sort of things do you look for in an actor? Not the lead role, beyond talent, that you'd like to work with?
What, specifically for Gladiator or just in general?
Not specifically to Gladiator, of something of this magnitude, maybe.
Yeah, of this magnitude. It's quite difficult. That's
Or a little bit
It's a bit of an
lower.
oxymoron you chuck there. The sort of actors I love, I mean, it's just... I mean, to describe how I like funny, I like quirky, I like anyone that's left of centre, I like anyone that's going to challenge any preconception. I'll always do that. When people say, my worst sort of director I've worked with, and I've worked with them years and years and years ago, will say, but he doesn't look like a policeman. And I'm like, good. Let's challenge what a policeman looks like, because they don't all look like that. But actually in Gladiator, because as you see, it's not dissimilar to the original. So I thought we need to embrace many aspects of it. And there was a lot of wit and humour in the casting of Oliver Reed, David Hemmings, all that lot. And I thought, we haven't got that at that point in the process. So I thought, so that's when I went down the Tim McInerney, Matt Lucas. We had loads of sort of, and I just thought, because we need that, because otherwise it's just men, pounding their chests. And actually, I think Tim McInerney is just so joyful. He's the conduit, I think, for the audience, because he's sort of overwhelmed and trying to be obsequious and then just in total panic all the time. It was a very stressful time to be in the Senate at that time in Rome. I mean, you barely got through a day if you were lucky. So I really love that aspect of it. And I love people that have an ability to be funny. People like Matthew McFadden, Rory Kinnear, Olivia Colman. These are all astonishing dramatic actors. My God, they're funny. And I think that's the magic. That's Julie Walters. That's the magic ticket. And they can transcend. I mean, Glenda Jackson as well. I mean, Glenda Jackson to the American audience in the 70s was a comedy double act with George Segal. I mean, back in the 70s, you see those movies. They were hilarious. They were brilliant. But here she was, intense Stevie Smith.
Amazing. Should we go for one more? Go for it.
Hi, Kate. Thank you so much for that. I'm Crystal Sasodia. I'm an actor and writer, a disabled one, actually. I really resonated with what you said about immersing yourself in as much art as possible and different kinds of things and different art. 2024 was quite a slow year for things being made. Do you have any good recommendations for stuff to see? Anything?
Oh my goodness. Well, now, I give you a list of things not to see. Because I've read through a lot of that. Actually, there's a play that's going to transfer to the West End, which I cannot recommend enough. And I ashamedly didn't know the writer. She's a French writer, and it's called The Years. Annie Arnaud. Arnaud, there you go. Très, très désolée. I should know, and I was horrified. And I've actually bought all her books since. There's something so powerful and moving about her writing, full stop. And I'm thrilled it's transferring to the West End, because that's when that's brilliant writing, brilliant performances come together. That's what you need, really. It's really simple. And this, to me, is a fusion of just, I cannot wait to see it again. And I've been telling everyone, you must go and see it, you must go and see it. And those actresses, it's all ensemble. And it's 5 actresses basically playing 5 different aspects of a woman's life from World War II up until sort of the 90s. It's incredibly funny. It's incredibly moving. I went to a matinee with your classic matinee audience, and they were all standing ovation, crying. It was astonishing. And that's the joy of theatre when it's like that. So that spurred me into reading all of her literature, which is extraordinary. So I just let things roll. I mean, look, I have adult children now. There was a period where I knew nothing outside of, Teletubbies and stuff. And actually, they introduced me to loads of actresses, actually. They would say, oh, Mum, I've seen this girl. And in fact, there's one girl that I cast loads and loads from Tracy Beaker or something. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, I go to museums much more than I used to all the time, particularly the National Portrait Gallery. If I've got time between castings, that's where you'll find me. As everything leads to something. It's like I always say with actors when they panic about not wanting to do a job that they don't think is going to be good enough for them. I'll go, but what are you doing? Are you literally going, do you want 2 sugars or milk? Is that it? Or do you have something to contribute? And they go, well, I've got a couple of scenes. I go, okay, it's not about what you're going to be doing on set. It's about all the connections you're going to be meeting behind. When I started, I was a single parent, and I said yes to everything. There's a pile of stuff on my CV that is no longer there. But it led me to meet people that then took me on to the next project and took me on to the next project. Work begets work every time. And never get too grand. And also just don't overthink it too much. It is just down to, is this a beautiful story? Is it being beautifully told?
Amazing. You, with the black top, you had your hand up so fast. I can't deny you a question. You were so enthusiastic. Sorry, Kristen. You were so enthusiastic. I was like, we will end with you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for bringing us out of our homes or workplaces or wherever we were this morning to watch Gladiator II. Like, what more could you want on a Tuesday? So thank you for that. Kate, I was emotional throughout the entire piece, and I loved it. I tend to be emotional.
Oh, good.
Actually.
Well, that's
but
okay.
but it was genuine. And Paul, my God, was there anybody you wanted in this film that you could not get?
Oh, I couldn't tell you that.
It's just us. We can
Camera's the camera. There's just one.
we just
What I
want to be in it.
can tell you is that everyone I wanted to be in it is in it.
Oh, you're good.
And particularly Fred and Joe, who I'd been working with for years and been putting Fred in front of Ridley for quite a few years. So I was thrilled he got there.
Is there a future for casting to get like a story credit? Because I'm a story engineer as well as actor, and I think casting is 99% the film. The rest is the massive fee. Is there? I mean, it's quite controversial. A lot of editors are talking about it. With folks' interest, because it's such a massive input. What do you think about that?
Well, it's taken us 40 odd years to get
Yeah.
getting the casting credit. So I think we're quite happy with that. But yeah, I mean, we're like producers. You know, I'm working on 3 independent films at the moment. They're not going to happen until I get them cast, which means I'm producing the film. But then, you know, for 20p in a packet of fags.
And bring on the Oscars. That's like
The fact that that recognition is happening is phenomenal, because until a year ago, we no one would think to even invite us to the premieres or the screenings or anything. And we were always our nose up against the window going, can I come in? Can I come in? It was very debilitating. But I think that credit now, I mean, we never thought it would happen at the Academy, not so soon anyway. I think that's made a huge difference. And I think that sort of people do understand. They now know that casting is about storytelling. Script and cast, that's without those two, doesn't matter how good it looks, sorry.
amazing. Thank you, everyone, for your incredible questions.
Yes, thank you.
Honestly,
Inspiring.
this 45 minutes has just absolutely whizzed by, and thank you so much for
Pleasure.
going into detail, answering them as well. And 2025, any hints of what's gonna come? Anything exciting?
No.
Should we say ...
Dot.
There you go. Heard it here first. Hot off the press.
Lots coming round the corner.